and welcome to another Best Junglers video, this one for patch 12.5. Not much happened in this patch where they nerfed to Xin Zhao as well as to Gwen. They think they nerfed Yi but ended up doing the complete opposite, obviously. And along with the previous patch, we have a few shifts and move-arounds in the jungle tier list. We will go over the best junglers overall, the best junglers for low elo, and the best junglers for high elo. Don't forget the infographic for this will be on Patreon along with coaching VODs and coaching signups. And if you want to know how to play these champions with the utmost proficiency, the Mobalytics champion page has everything you need. With daily updates, the build page has the best items, runes and more, which you can also auto-import into your client. And for you NA players, it also works for ARAM. Should you have a nemesis in a champion, you can head to the counters tab, which gives you a full breakdown of 200 IQ strategies and the champions you can use to inflict your wrath. If you simply want to learn a champion to increase your pool, you can head to the guide page, which will give you strength, weaknesses, power spikes, and a full game plan, in addition to a full combo page researched by only the most gifted mechanical gods. Finally, if you want to mimic the best in the world, the pro page will show you all the details from runes to abilities to items. All of this is also available on Mobalytics' companion, so head to the link in the description below to download that, which not only helps you climb more, it also supports the channel directly. Now first up on the S tier page, we are starting with Master Yi. Remember, he's still Master Yi. He still suffers from the same issues in high elo that he did before. The difference is on stream when I read this out, I saw Q damage and bonus crit damage decreased. Nice. And then I read all the other changes and I kind of went, no, that's not good. We don't like that at all. Each mark now applies on hit cooldown reduction, scales with ability haste. E and R can now pause during his Q and both can be activated during the Q. It seems quite funny that in the patch notes they said he is both frustrating to play against and unhealthy for gameplay. And those who know these videos know I've very frequently said when this champion is strong, it's insanely unhealthy. He is only good when he is only good in low elo. Yes, coordinated CC and teamfighting can really help you, and that's exactly how you deal with it. The problem is in solo queue where people have no idea how to position, teamfight, and control, these random variables, he's just gonna pop off, run around, and get pentakills. There's a reason. He is the easiest champion in the game at getting pentakills. So I don't necessarily think, adding that on-hit buff to his Q is a good idea, but Riot have acknowledged this. They have said he is too strong right now. He will be getting a hotfix, so this comes with a big asterisk of, you know what, in 2 days, he might not even be the best jungler in the game. He might not even be on the tier list. So watch out for those hotfixes. The champion currently in its form though is either pick or ban for you if you're in low elo 100%. For the rest of you, if you simply don't want to face a 55% win rate champion, ban it. If you think you can handle it and you like the ego check, then, play your games. Now that the statistical aberration is covered, let's go back into our regularly scheduled tier list. And what would a tier list be without moons and horses? Diana is still the best overall jungler for the meta, and the statistics obviously overall, yeah, they show that she is still one of the most popular, if not the most popular jungler in the game, while having good metrics all round. The win rate definitely isn't something overbearing. I don't think this is a champion that's kind of too strong that we need to 100% nerf. Instead, I would prefer to have other champions buffed that could deal with her a little better, perhaps other champions that can match her to a certain degree, and obviously I'm talking about the farming ability, the gap closing ability for ganking, and the fact that she simply runs away with things extremely quickly, and with your ultimate you have the ability to teamfight, assassinate, and of course split push with the attack speed that you have. And the thing is, because it kind of relies on her Q, but she does have that gap closer regardless, it's point and click. It's not too difficult to hit, which means her counter ganks and rotational ganks are not as unreliable as other junglers. Junglers that typically, when they have more high variance ganks, cannot farm as fast. However, she farms the fastest. While she is the total package, Hecarim is not to be outdone. No, the Lord of the Donkeys has decided that, the fighter item rework, yeah, does hit him. The nerfs to the chem tank, yeah, they do hit him. But he doesn't really care much, because you can still go Chem Tank Manamoon build, you can still go Divine Sundra, although the Trinity Force is significantly more useful considering the meta. Squishy, low CC enchanters, which means you can assassinate them, do DPS, have scaling AD on the Trinity Force, and you don't really need the healing and percentage damage from the Divine Sundra. Should there be a lot of CC or perhaps those HP stacking fools, obviously you can still go that. But along with those enchanters and obviously the fact that fighters aren't building as much HP either, the variance in the build paths really comes down to team comp and personal preference. That, and you can still go Conqueror, Predator, and Phase Rush as you wish. And when you have a champion that can simply sequence like this and obviously react and rotate to ganks as is needed, and even if your map looks like Mordor, you can still put all the fires up because of your galloping speed. Slap in fast sequencing and dominating team fighting, those poor ADCs are gonna wake up thinking they're suffering from a nightmare, and then they realize no, Hecarim is real. Next up, we have the legendary, the one and only, the Grasshopper, Kha'Zix. I say one and only because he is seemingly the only AD assassin that is allowed to perpetually be strong, which is why I'm very excited for those ring-out changes, even though he doesn't really need them. It will push him over the edge and might even bring him into the metascape, and now we have a Kha'Zix vs Rengar situation which I don't remember having since Season 4. Very, very spicy. But obviously with Kha'Zix's own reality, simply evolve the way you want to evolve, rune the way you want to rune, and build the way you want to build. And I kind of mean it that way. I know you think I'm copping out. No, First Strike is the best rune page by default. It is for most assassins. But you can go Harvest, Electrocute, and Conqueror as well. You can flex into fight itemization. You have your Duskblade, Ghostblade procs. Just remember rule 1. You are a hunter. The goal is to remove the enemy jungler from the game such that they cannot impact your lanes, but you can. Rek'Sai is still looking absolutely exquisite in the current meta. The Black Cleaver changes, the Death Dance shift, the removal of forcing people to run Starix just because it exists. All of a sudden, Rek'Sai has more potent damage itemization, a high-paced meta where she can really get ahead of those farming junglers with early ganks. She can invade and fight them mostly. She can also full clear and sequence herself as well. During my bootcamp, I had a wonderful chat with Doubtful about the state of Rek'Sai and how to maximize her usage. She is definitely a champion that can seem easy on the outside, but no. Her win condition knowledge to know how to close games out by the 25-minute mark and really maximize her strengths, that's a skill set. There are these other mechanical things you should know, like using your Prey Seeker Burrowed Q before you hit your combo. That gives you Fury stacks, which means a sooner E chump for true damage. Should you right-click your W? Should you press a W, which of course extends the radius a little bit? And then of course you have itemization and runes. Electrocute gamer, Hail of Blades gamer. Do you simply prefer Conqueror? More fighter itemization, more assassin itemization? The choice is yours, and the champion is really primed for that free LP juice. Speaking of primed, except not for juice and more for terror, is Shaco, and I've released a video on my gameplay channel this week on the state of the champion. Yes, he can get thrown off in the end of the game, but a good Shaco doesn't let that happen. A good Shaco knows how to clear properly and impact all 3 lanes before the enemy jungler has any idea where you started, what you're doing, and how you're playing. If you do not become a filthy, tricksy Shaco, then what exactly are you doing and why are you playing this champion? And yes, you can go crit. The Shaco I covered went Gale Force into Essence Reaver and used that mobility exquisitely. He knew exactly how to position in and out of his teamfights, play around his cooldown. It was a picture-perfect example of how to use Shaco early and how to play teamfights as an assassin when you're fed. I recommend watching that. I will slap it in the top right for you, but overall it really does show you a good example of how Shaco is strong. Next up we have the Edgelord Supreme. We have a giant sword and a giant scythe, both shirtless. Now, I'm going to cover them both together because both are doing extremely well in the meta, but with different win rates. Virkayu is always going to be that really irritating champion that literally everybody hates, but he has different strengths and different weaknesses, and you can accentuate those or, cover some of those up with his atomization. I talked about that in depth in the video last week Friday, so have a look at that if you're interested. Again, I will put that in the top right. For Kayn though, you do have the choice of course of going Rasi Boy, Fighter Atomization Giga Extraordinaire, or you can go Shadow Assassin, and you don't have to go plain Shadow Assassin. You can go Blusa, or you can go Purple. You have a lot of choices with this champion to match up to your team comp and to the enemy team comp, and in short, no shortage of choices. And now let's move on to the A tier page where we have Fiddlesticks. And the funny thing is, I reckon you could take any fiddle main off the street, like a good one trick, a good main, and say, what jungle changes have happened lately? What champion meta has shifted? What is the root coefficient cause of happiness and unhappiness in the general human population? And they would have no idea about any of those answers, except maybe the last one, which would be to them playing Fiddlesticks. You exist in a bubble, you just do your thing. It's really quite nice actually, as long as there's experience to be had and ADCs to assassinate. Why complicate your life with consumerist desires? Following that we have Nocturne, because Nocturne is performing extremely well statistically. The Strikebreaker Axiom Arc build is something that you can do, although just going full Broza also works with the Death Stance. But you cause dismay, despair, and frustration when you dive bomb half a map away and annihilate a squishy. And when there's a lot of squishies around, then you know. Great farmer, great skirmisher, great split pusher. What more do you really want, much like the Fiddlesticks? Next up is the big old troll Trundle, who's still shoving ice pillars where nobody asked him to. But the fighter changes have really brought out the aggressive side in the champion, with a bit more of an aggressive build that allows him to do aggressive things. By that I mean he chumps you, removes your AD, and then just one-shots you. You think you're 2 levels ahead and you can beat him? Well, now he out-sustains you and lifesteals from you. That, and if you're a tank, and I like to play my Sejuani and Ornns, he kinda just yeets my stats, which makes him very, very irritating to face. But again, strong mobility across the entire map, good objective control, and of course he can split push. Nunu did receive that recent nerf, but that affects AP Nunu significantly more. If the real Nunus would like to stand up, you can still do exactly what you were always doing. However, I would like to say, having just played against a Nunu the other day, you can't just mindlessly wander level 2 ganks, ignore top lane quadrants, not count on jungle, and just run up and down the river. I said that like there was going to be a metaphor, there isn't. I just don't want you to do that without thinking. Please understand, you do need to control some of your camps. Please understand, you do need a little bit of nuance, and you do have to prevent the enemy jungler from doing those things, because if you are trying to make the enemy jungler follow you around, trying to match your gangs, but you really don't do anything worth following, then they're just going to have 3 quadrant control and control objectives. So all you did was nothing. Following that, we have Graves, who is not only enjoying the Eclipse Assassination build like we saw in the video this week, he's also running Gore Drinker and Stride Breaker. Yes, an abomination of a champion that will always find something to make our lives miserable. And his win rate doesn't reflect the relative power that he has because most people don't play Graves properly. I can honestly say, as much as I hate this champion when he's strong, he's not in that state right now. He is just a good old-fashioned regular jungler that in the right hands with the right pilot will destroy everyone, but on the average, yeah, he's good. Echo is something that is kind of being ignored and I don't know why. Yeah, he doesn't farm. Actually, I know why, that's a lie. He simply doesn't gank as well or farm as fast, but if you have exquisite tracking, as I've always said, I'm gonna keep saying it, make sure you're counter ganking, please. Track enemy jungler, do a slightly short and clear, be positioned for the early gank, slap down your W, double kill, win the game. He is the best, one of the best snowballing junglers in the game. If you can get a small lead through good tracking, a nice clear, a few ganks here and there, who's gonna stop you? And of course, backline dives, Soraka kills, and split pushing. Zagutia. Yes, Zac is strong. Yes, Zac has been strong, and now you're seeing him in other positions like support. And people going, wow, what a cool original pick. And I'm going, no. He's been played support for years and correct, years. He's literally shown up in videos in a support position when I'm just covering two junglers and people in the comments are saying, yeah, but that Zac support said they were trolling. No, never has been, never was, have been. The champion is strong, ladies and gentlemen, and he's strongest from the jungle. Make sure you're building your itemization, good farm. Look, a good Zac clear, efficient Zac clear, a complicated Zac clear is not easy. It's one of the more difficult champions to sort of make sure you're doing that properly. But you know what? You go to my friend Phalaris' channel, you watch that clear, you get it down to the pristine level in practice tool, take it to ranked, and all of a sudden you're clearing very fast. And you know what? Like Rek'Sai, the unique ganking angles, wherever you want to gank from, you can do it. Look at vision, use your F key, stare at the minimap, track where the wards are, move around them, use your E, use your disruption, build the mnemonics, and brace for some extra damage. Enjoy yourself. Finally, I will put Volibear in this position because the Chem Tank build is extremely strong. Now, I don't build this as a default. I do recommend most people who are learning the champion to do so. There is some hidden tech that I have in terms of my builds that are significantly stronger, but for that, you will have to go and download my Live Companion Zerda GG Volibear guide, where I will be publishing that in the next few days. However, I will say this, whether you are going Trinity Force, Divine Sundra, or Chem Tank, build Titanic Hydra with Tiamat second. I've been saying this for almost a year now. It's a supremely good item, underrated on him. Do it. Now we move on to the low elo page, where, to no one's surprise, Marci reigns supreme. Again, watch that, but he will most likely still be strong afterwards because he was still strong before. Amumu shows up at the bottom of the page like the crying mummy that he is. The rebuffs kind of just made him a little bit more normal. You do have things like Al Ramus running around with good win rates, but I have no idea why Rammus has good win rates when you could play any of these champions and have way better success. Vitrundle and Volibear really sneak in, and the Nocturne is a hidden strong pick in this elo. And obviously Warwick is always good. Now we shift on over to the high elo page, and for once there's not a lot of differences between the high elo page and the general meta, although that has happened a fair amount. Kindred is obviously still good, Talia is a hidden OP, you can use Rengar. Huge buffs will be coming in. Evelyn is a sneaky one with a very strong win rate, and Xin Xiao, who I didn't think would be affected by the nerfs as he was, really was. His win rate took a sucker dive dip, and honestly it's a little bit perplexing, but at the same time, those changes really were designed to affect high elo and pro play, where he's been strong for quite a while. And obviously Xin Xiao is very good into Evelyn, so that's going to boost her win rate indirectly. And that's the kind of stuff you need to track when you're looking after patches, not always on the face of it. Look to see what counters and other champions that are counted, how do they do after changes come through, and then there's a whole discussion of comfort versus picking meta. Hey, if you pick Xin Xiao and you love the champion and you're still doing well with him, keep going. There's no reason to say, oh, the win rate's low, I can't play with him. Don't do that. And obviously you have your champions in high elo that are raw pilot driven, things like Karthus and Nidleys. They're always going to be around, but I will say that it looks like the Kiana is finally suffering a little bit too much, although you can still do well with it and pick it in high elo. So there you have it, the best junglers for patch 12.5, and if you're wondering, wait, how do I actually use these meta junglers to be a ruthless jungler in order to actually carry games easily, why don't you go ahead and click the link on this box. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.